Hi there. Later, a Harry Potter cover-up. First though, plans to bomb a Lady Gaga concert to target queer people have been foiled. Police say an organisation that spreads anti-LGBTQ+ hate speech were behind this. They've been investigating since last Monday and made 2 arrests. The singer performed on Copacabana Beach in Brazil on Saturday to more than 2 million people. Through a translator, Felipe Cure from Rio Police says the group's plan got even more sinister.
They were clearly saying that they were planning an attack on singer Lady Gaga's concert, motivated by sexual orientation. In other words, to target the LGBTQIA+ community. The suspect also had a religious motivation, as he claimed the singer was a Satanist. He planned to carry out a satanic ritual by killing a child during the concert.
Operation Fake Monster, because Gaga's fans are known as Little Monsters, saw police raids on the homes of 15 suspects. She didn't know about the threat until after the concert. The mother of murdered transgender teenager Brianna Jai has completed a charity triathlon with a 9-year-old boy. Esther Jai and Harvey Goodman first came together over his interest in mindfulness, which is helping him process a bereavement. They've raised about £9,000 for kids' mental health charity Peace and Mind UK, which was set up by Esther. She tells ITV News Brianna had been badly affected by things she'd been seeing on social media.
Since Brianna passed away, I've been campaigning to get mindfulness into schools, and I've been campaigning to make the online world safer, and all of this is because I want to improve young people's mental health because of what Brianna went through.
The pair have done a 1.2-mile swim, a 56-mile bike ride and a 16-mile walk, finishing up at Manchester United Stadium at Old Trafford. Transgender women are now banned from playing competitive female cricket in England and Wales. So, this line again, the move follows that UK Supreme Court decision, a woman's defined by biological sex. It's also led to bans in Scottish and English football in the last week. Plus, Scotland's dropping its plans to outlaw conversion practices for now, because the rulings made things much more complicated. And tattoo artists in the UK have been offering free cover-ups of Harry Potter tats. It's 'cause his wicked grandma's turned out just awful, with her hateful views on trans people whose emotional depth eludes her. To mark Harry Potter Day over the weekend, apparently, Hella Tattoos has been covering them up, and in doing so, raised some money for Trans Pride Brighton. No time to tell you that. Lorde says a new album's been inspired by a gender broadening as she inhabits her masculinity a bit more. Just 2 cities left in the running to host the 2030 Gay Games, Perth in Australia and Denver in America. And the Liquor Board in Washington DC has extended the city's drinking hours for World Pride from May 30th. Hi there. Later, the drag hopefuls at the Queen's Ball Awards. First though, players from trans-inclusive football team Gold Diggers FC have marched 12 miles across London to Wembley Stadium. They were joined by supporters as they delivered an open letter to the headquarters of the sport's governing body. It criticises the FA for banning transgender women from playing in competitive women's football, calling that decision pitiful and weak. Becky Taylor-Gill from the club tells Sky Sports News it's caused a lot of upset.
There's a lot of fear from our transgender members and a lot of sadness, and we're doing everything we can to support those members. All they want to do is play football, and that's been taken away from them. I am a cisgender woman. Playing with my teammates who are transgender has only brought me joy.
The FA says it had to act after that UK Supreme Court ruling we seem to mention daily. The walks also raised more than £10,000, half for the club and the rest for transgender charity Not a Phase. The CEO of the UK's cooperative group says she'll protect trans people to the end. More than 1,000 staff at the organisation, which runs convenience stores and legal services, identify as transgender or non-binary. Shireen Khoury-Haque promising she'll continue to advocate for them and speak out against hate. And the nominations are out for Australia's LGBTQ+ Queen's Ball Awards, and it would be remiss of us not to focus on the Drag Performer of the Year category. Among the hopefuls, you've got Iona Toyboy, Luna Thick, Dixie Wrecked, and Will Turner. Elsewhere, there's awards for activism and community groups, amongst other things. Prizes are dished out at Brisbane City Hall on June 28th. Hi there. Later, being a bigot's bad for business. First though, a ban on pride flags in Utah's schools and government buildings is now in force. There's a fine of $500 a day for unsanctioned flag displays. Right-wing Republican lawmakers say it'll make classrooms politically neutral. Opponents, who do have souls, reckon the aim's to erase LGBTQ+ expression. Utah schoolteacher John Arthur came up with a subtle way to show his support to one of his queer students.
I'm a teacher. I use pens and highlighters and markers every day. No one could give me a hard time for wearing a bunch of pens in my pocket. So I came to school the next day with a rainbowish assortment ready to go, and most people made nothing of it. But my boy knew. He looked at me and he knew I was flying a flag just for him.
Yes, that background music is a bit much. On the upside, political flags, so for example, any that say "Make America Great Again," are banned as well. Scotland's former First Minister says there's a risk the lives of transgender people could be made almost unlivable. Nicola Sturgeon speaking after the UK Supreme Court ruling that gender's defined by biological sex. It's led to advice from the Equality and Human Rights Commission. Trans women should be barred from female facilities in the likes of shops and hospitals. Sturgeon reckons what's important now is how the ruling's put into practice.
Can that be done in a way that, of course, protects women, but also allows trans people to live their lives with dignity and in a safe and accepted way?
When she was in office, Sturgeon tried to make it easier for people in Scotland to change their legally recognised sex. This was blocked by the UK government. And the Bigot's restaurant has closed down in Sydney, Australia after less than 2 months. It's the second eatery run by Mark DaCosta that's flopped. Last time was 2020, when he said the gay community wasn't welcome and used a homophobic insult. Now it's swiftly happened again, because no one wants to be anywhere near him. He's blaming snowflakes and an area where people can't figure out if they're male, female, dogs or cats. A comment on his Insta says, "Time to go back to driving Ubers." No time to tell you that. The US Supreme Court's allowing a transgender military ban for now, while a legal challenge plays out. And London Trans Plus Pride returns on July 26 with the theme Existence and Resistance. Hi there. A little bit longer than usual because we love to spoil you. Later, a transgender lesbian vampire. First though, a hotel's explanation for why security removed 2 lesbians from its female restroom is evolving, shall we say. At first, Boston's Liberty Hotel defended a male guard, claiming Ansley Baker and her girlfriend Liz Victor, 2 cisgender women, had been sharing a cubicle. But Ansley tells CBS News this is what happened.
One of the security guards was there telling me to get out of the bathroom, that I was a man in the women's bathroom. I said, "I'm a woman." Someone said, "Get him out of here," referring to me. So, he's a creep. It's just humiliating. I didn't have my shorts tied even.
She also says the pair had to show their IDs to prove their gender. Now the hotel's changed its story, saying the security guard's been suspended, staff are being retrained, and it's made a donation to a local queer organisation. Next claims 6 LGBTQ+ prison inmates in Turkey are being held in solitary confinement and denied medical care. Lawyers say it's discrimination because they're queer. They're awaiting trial at Aksaray jail. One has cancer, while another suffers from asthma and chronic bronchitis. An artist in Russia has been fined 100,000 rubles for a rainbow emoji in a social media post. Alisa Gorshanina's broken the country's LGBT propaganda rules. The 31-year-old, who's also an activist, was held in a detention centre for a week and a half and found guilty of displaying extremist symbols. A pro-conversion therapy group that tried to register itself as a charity has been rightly kicked to the curb. The The International Foundation for Therapeutic and Counselling Choice had been appealing after a knockback from the charity regulator for England and Wales, but a tribunal's ruled the group's got a political purpose and its aims aren't exclusively charitable. And a transgender lesbian vampire is the main character in an upcoming video game. Crimson Tale sees Elizabeth avenging the death of her partner Christy, caused by the oppressing forces of the nobility. By drinking blood, she can travel back in time to change the present. The game's currently in production. Also, gotta make sure you keep Elizabeth in the shade, 'cause vampire. Bit like me, 'cause Scottish. We burn. We just burn. What do you want from Pride Daily? Tell me. I need to know. Just fill in our survey. There's a link at the foot of our show notes. Hi there. Later, what's Lil Nas X pulled out of? First though, there's a new pope, Robert Prevost, aka Leo XIV, but where's his head at on LGBTQ+? Well, we know in the past he's come out with stuff like this.
Western mass media is extraordinarily effective in fostering within the general public enormous sympathy for beliefs and practices that are at odds with the gospel. For example, abortion, homosexual lifestyle, euthanasia.
The new pope speaking 12 years ago. Are you done? Oh, no.
Note, for example, how alternative families comprised of same-sex partners and their adopted children are so benignly and sympathetically portrayed in television programs and cinema today.
He's also talked about genders that don't exist. Basically, not as progressive as Pope Francis, his predecessor, who famously said, amongst other things, being gay isn't a crime. Next, sneaky. An American city's found an ingenious way to get around a bigoted ban on pride flags. Since Wednesday, they can't be flown at public buildings in Utah. Only official flags are allowed, those of a country, a state, or a city. So officials in Salt Lake City have had some new official ones approved. Basically, the rainbow flag and the trans pride flag with Utah's sago lily motif top left. Erin Mendenhall's the mayor.
These are flags that we have traditionally raised at Salt Lake City Hall over the years, recognizing these days that promote diversity, they promote awareness around historical significance in this community and beyond, and they do so through inclusion.
Thanks to KSL News, Boise City Council in Utah has pulled a similar manoeuvre. Another 22 arrests over attacks on men in Australia, mainly involving gay dating apps. Police in Victoria say victims have been threatened, assaulted, robbed, falsely imprisoned and kidnapped. All in, they've made 35 arrests since last October, mainly young males aged between 13 and 20. There's plans to recognise only two genders in Vanuatu in the South Pacific. The government's considering plans to amend the constitution, says this would align their laws with the Christian principles upon which the country was founded. And if you're not exactly sure where to find Vanuatu, it's somewhere around the Stone Age, apparently. And Lil Nas X has pulled out of West Hollywood Pride's Out Loud Music Festival because of an ongoing medical issue. The queer performer was in hospital last month due to a sudden partial paralysis of his face. Might be linked to that, we don't know. In his place, bisexual singer-songwriter Remy Wolf headlines on June the 1st. No time to tell you that. The first ever LGBTQ+ community choir in Jersey in the Channel Islands has its debut performance later. And it's the 9th annual Brighton Beach Pride tomorrow in New York. You can subscribe to Pride Daily so you never miss an episode. Go on. I'm Kev McGraw. See you next week.